This is Jeremy Martin from Cinco.medicos, and in today's video I wanted to answer a question I get a lot, which is, what is a San Pedro ceremony like? And I won't go into all the details, but in general, how I conduct ceremonies as compared to, say, other people or other medicines like ayahuasca. So just a general overview of San Pedro medicine. If you haven't seen my other videos, I recommend you check them out. San Pedro medicine is from the Andes. It's been used for thousands of years. Some people say it's very gentle and loving. I agree, but I also think it is very profound and powerful and immensely transformative as well. Oftentimes, it's very underestimated in its strength. It depends on the dosage, depends on your sensitivity and experience with the medicine. For ceremony, I prepare my own medicine from San Pedro cactus from Peru with lots of care, love, intention, and appreciation. And out of deep gratitude and love for the plant, I also regularly plant seeds and seedlings. I replant the cactus tops and bases, and I also teach people and give seeds away so that other people can do the same thing. And the reason I mention this is because that's actually a very important part of the ceremony for me, is treating the plant with lots of respect and love, so that the population can continue to thrive both indoors and outdoors, both within its native habitat and beyond. It's very important that we treat this medicine as a living being, because that's exactly what it is. So before I get into the ceremony particulars, before ceremony, because San Pedro medicine lasts such a long time, anywhere between 8 and 20 hours, depending on the dose and, again, sensitivity and experience, because it's such a long-lasting medicine, you have to prepare for an intensive day-long experience. Now, I tend to hold my ceremonies during the day. Other practitioners or curanderos may hold them at night. That's not my way, and it's not to say that there's a right or wrong way. I don't use sweat lodges, but other people do. And sweat lodges can be immensely beneficial to some people. But I found that during the day and in nature is one of the best settings for people. It can be profoundly deep and transformative. So for this reason, I always take time to prepare participants first, offering individualized sessions to discuss why anyone would want to do this work and good ways to craft or hone really heartfelt intentions that aren't just from the mind, but really something that you truly feel and believe. As well as relevant subjects such as therapy, trauma, medical issues, and previous plant medicine or psychedelic journeys. So it's just a nice opportunity to ask questions and establish trust. And that's really important when it comes to the ceremony. So you feel like you already know me, you feel like you have a good idea as to maybe not what to expect, but some of the logistical elements and what the medicine might be like, perhaps for you. Now, also covering the pre-ceremony diet, since that's essential to the ceremony itself. San Pedro is more lenient than other medicines. I advise a light fast the night prior with an early light dinner, followed by usually only water or herbal tea. If you're in the Andes, coca tea is really good. But we drink San Pedro in the morning around 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning. So you can have a half cup of coffee, but I recommend limiting caffeine intake in as much as you can, and definitely fasting the morning of ceremony, which allows the medicine to take its intended effect. Now, before you arrive to ceremony, I suggest that you are well rested and focused, and you don't have to take everything super duper seriously, but make sure that you're in a nice, relaxed, and grounded place and ready to dive deeper into your own self and your own healing. You want to take this medicine seriously, but not so seriously to the point where you're rigid and stressed about it. So just be able to find your center that morning. And as to the actual ceremony itself, when we begin in the morning, we're, depending on the location, going to be either meeting at a prearranged spot in nature, an ancient site, pre-Incan or Incan, maybe a Maloka. Either way, it's ideal to arrive with that willingness to engage with yourself at all levels. So once we're together, we'll usually chat a little bit briefly to see how everyone's feeling, to verify that the dose you're looking for is something that you're still okay with. And after a brief opening ritual around an altar or mesa, the medicine is then served to each participant. And once the ceremony's been opened, then we'll go to our ceremony spot for the day if we're not already there. So during the spring, summer, and fall months, again, I always hold my ceremonies outdoors, often by a river, meadow, mountains, things like that. And rain or shine, so it's only canceled for severe weather, so please come prepared and dress accordingly. I'll send you a list of things to bring in advance, but only in the winter months do we hold ceremonies indoors and venture briefly outside. There's a lot to be said for an indoor ceremony, especially with accompanied sound healing or sound bowls, things like that. And you can definitely get a lot out of closing your eyes. I've talked to a lot of people who have really enjoyed a closed eye ceremony for the most part. Now, once at our spot for the day, each person is free to then find their own space to start really honoring their process with enough physical space between everyone to allow for privacy and just to keep distractions from others at bay. I ask that all guests refrain from engaging with one another throughout the entirety of the day until we gather again as a group or close ceremony together in order to respect each participant's process. And while intimacy and connection are absolutely vital to healing, social interactions are really something best left for later on. You can chat the medicine away, so it's important that each person be present, concentrated on their own healing, observe noble silence, and go deeper within themselves to look at that which needs attention and expression. And with that solitude and noble silence, we can then connect to Mother Nature, to the divine as well. So San Pedro really becomes a medicinal mirror to what's going on in our mind, what's going on in our heart, so that we can see with more clarity and compassion maybe where we're holding on to self-limiting beliefs and negative patterns in our lives, or how we can release those, or something that no longer serves us. So it's important to be very concentrated for this rather than to be observing somebody else's process. And I really do recommend people heal through relationships, but again, that's after you've gone through your own process. So having said all that, I and other facilitators, if present, will always be there during the whole ceremony to assist you if anything's required. Whether you run out of water, whether you're feeling a little bit on edge or nervous. I'm there to provide experienced and grounded advice for navigating the experience and just a calming, stable presence should you need someone to process with. And some people prefer to not talk until later, and other people really want to talk. So it could be 0 minutes or it could be 2 hours. And it really just depends on what you're going through and what the medicine's bringing out. But around midday, that's depending on the group dynamics, around when I'd offer a booster based on people's experience levels and what we've chatted about before. But for anyone who wishes to go deeper and is able to handle a more profound experience, then this is totally optional. You can take a booster. And that's up to both your discretion and mine. So it's kind of a two-way conversation to decide what is most appropriate. But those who opt out of a booster can just break their fast with a light snack if you feel like that. Organic fruit or nuts are usually pretty good, but bread or something like that is okay. The ceremony will continue outdoors for the next several hours into the mid-afternoon until we come back together as a group in the early afternoon. And I usually like to lead a nice hike or light walk before returning, anywhere between a half an hour and 2 hours. And back at home, we just chat and chill for a little bit before closing the ceremony around 4 or 5 with gratitude and a closing ritual. And depending on our location and venue, we may also make a fire, share some laughs, and eat dinner together. So like most plant medicines, the individual experience for a medicine like San Pedro or Wachuma is really going to vary on the guest and no experience is ever going to be like a past one or a future one. The medicine's going to give you exactly what you need, so just trust that that's working in your best interest. And in general, I provide San Pedro ceremonies every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with a rest day in between. Um, Generally speaking, the more time you spend with the medicine, the deeper you can see inside and better understand yourself. And so I recommend, as a result, 2 to 3 ceremonies minimum to remember that, healing takes time. There's no quick fix here, especially for issues that have taken years to develop. So if you are planning on attending multiple ceremonies, remember that there's a rest day in between for integration, relaxation, self-exploration, activities, and all the other Asians. So if this medicine calls to you, or you're interested in learning a little bit more, or just want to connect, please feel free to contact me on my website at cinco.medicos.com, or email me at cinco.medicos@protonmail.com, or follow me on Instagram at cinco.medicos. All right, take care.